Hello and welcome to the Oklahoma Sports Report. Mark Rodgers with George Stoia of Sooner Scoop here to talk a little Oklahoma Sooner football. We are at the Garage on campus here in Norman downtown, actually. They've got garage locations all across the Oklahoma City metro area with great burgers, great beer, great atmosphere. It's an awesome place to watch the game. And don't forget about Rad Hour, where they have all kinds of great specials. So we highly suggest that you make the Garage a part of your daily hamburger routine.
Yeah, I love the Garage. I've been eating at the Garage forever. I go to the one downtown in Oklahoma City all the time, so it's the best.
Yeah, the location downtown is awesome. George, OU wins another one, being outgained this week. They hold Missouri to 6 points, and they get a big play from John Mateer to Isaiah Satania.
Yeah.
But this method continues to work for them. 2 more turnovers forced also.
Yeah, I think that Oklahoma's found this unique way to win where they're just suffocating teams, right? The offense has not been very good. We'll dive into that, I'm sure, but this defense is special. And, I was writing about that this week. I think it's maybe the best defense of my lifetime. Some people have pushed back on that, said 2001 was really good. I was 5 years old, so I don't know. I don't remember watching them, but they're finding unique ways to win. They're leaning into what they do well, which is playing great defense, play good field position, and then the offense is coming up with some big plays here and there. They got to figure it out to be more consistent, keep some of their drives together, but Mark, when you're winning games like you are right now, I don't think you can blame Oklahoma for continuing to do this.
Yeah, it's all working on that side of the ball. Special teams, Tate Sandell with another field goal.
Yeah.
Grayson Miller is the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week. And so that field position game is keeping OU in it. They don't have to make a bunch of yards, and especially in the first quarter, Missouri's time of possession, they had 1 penalty, and that's almost too much to overcome to get a touchdown against this OU defense. So the depth on the defense is something also that I think is just, it's amazing how many players are contributing on that side of the ball.
It's insane. I mean, you go down the list, and it's not just, like last year it felt like a lot of times we said, oh, it's Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman, R. Mason Thomas. It was those 3 guys making the majority of the plays. You look at the stat sheet, it's Owen Heinicke, it's Kip Lewis, it's Taylor Wine, who I think is going to be an all-SEC type of player, David Stone. Michael Boganowski comes in, makes a big play on the 3rd and goal early in the game. So there's so many guys, whether it's freshmen or senior, 4-year guys, transfers, that are making plays on this defense, and it's a credit to Brent Venables and the vision that he's had for that side of the football.
We need to take an opening timeout. We're going to come back. We'll talk a little bit about offense and the offensive woes, what they might be able to do to pick up things on that side of the ball. But I got to tell you about Surf and Turf Golf. Go to their website, surfandturfgolf.com, and you can pick out a great custom selection of hats. You can make your own. They've got shirts. They specialize in OU merchandise, but they can really print anything and everything for you, and they do a great job. We'll be back here at the Garage with more here on the Oklahoma Sports Report. Stay tuned.
If you've been in an automobile accident, you need expert medical evaluation and care. Just like in football, every team needs a leader to reach the goal line. Dr. Lopez will be the quarterback of your care. With a trusted network of specialists, he makes sure every part of your injury is treated the right way. As a board-certified, fellowship-trained trauma specialist, Dr. Lopez brings years of experience to your recovery. Concussions are often overlooked, but we use the iBox concussion system, the only FDA-approved office-based device for detecting concussions. Play it safe. Get checked out without delay. Call the OKC Car Crash Clinic at 405-86-CRASH today. Your health is too important to wait.
Mark, one of our good friends, T&W Tire, is sponsoring us this year. Talk to us about T&W Tire.
Well, we love T&W Tire. They're the sports animal locks of the week, so you're always going to get some good advice on that. T&W Tire started off in Oklahoma in the 80s with 5 locations, and they've grown to 30 locations that are all across the Southwest, the Midwest part of the United States. So if you need tires for a fleet of vehicles, that's what they really specialize in. They do a great job with that. But T&W is more than just tires. If your car has the check engine light on, you can roll in there, oil change, they do it all. They'll usually give you a diagnostic exam for free when you go in there. So check them out, man. They do great customer service. Love the guys at the location on 25 North Council Road over there, but they've got locations all over. As we said, great family-owned business.
The Garage is more than just a place to fix up the classic car. It's also a place to watch an instant classic. Or write the next great classic rock song. The Garage, the place to keep it classic.
Charles, I do quite enjoy Oklahoma, but I do declare I miss the pub. Oh, Michael, you silly muppet. Why don't we just go to Pub W? You plonker. Pub W. It's Oklahoma's pub with all your favorites. Fish and chips, pigs in a blanket, chili lime chicken salad, and of course, whiskey. You said whiskey, my good man? Indeed I did. Pub W. Oklahoma's pub.
Welcome back to the Oklahoma Sports Report. Rick Heat is gone this week, but he will rejoin us next week. Coming up, George Stoia sitting in for him this week. John Mateer throws an 87-yard touchdown pass. One play after he threw a ball way behind the intended receiver, but Isaiah Sategna flashed that speed. Do you think that he's the offensive MVP this year, Sategna?
I mean, he's pretty much their only playmaker, and I think Mateer's done some good things at times. Clearly, a different player, I think, since the injury. I don't know how much that's hampering him, but Sategna, they got to find more ways to get him the football, and it feels like they're trying to. I just think there's a lot of other issues, but yeah, you get him in space, man, he's gone. We've seen that a couple times now this year, and that was really, you go back and you watch the game, it's really the only offensive highlight they had all year, or all game on Saturday against Missouri. So it ended up being a huge difference maker. It kind of flipped the game. At that point, it was just 3-0. They just blocked a field goal, I believe Oklahoma had. And then that kind of changed the momentum, and Oklahoma from there kind of just suffocated Missouri, defensively.
Yeah, I would think Sategna will be in the running for, one of the three All-SEC teams this year. He's up there in receptions and then a defining play like that he made. But what a great find in the portal. They have not had a lot of luck at the receiver position in the portal, but Sategna has certainly shown up this year.
Yeah, and came from Arkansas and did some really good stuff at Arkansas. I think everybody kind of looked at Giovanni Gibson as maybe that guy that was going to be a big difference maker, and he caught his first touchdown, broke his ankle back in the spring, but Sategna's been the biggest difference maker. And a lot of people, this time last year, it was a big deal to get Deion Burks back and retain him. He's not been the player I think Oklahoma expected, but Sategna has been. I'm very curious. He's got an interesting decision in terms of, he's got another year of eligibility, or he could go to the NFL. That's how well he's playing right now, is I think he's worked himself into being an NFL draft.
Yeah, I think he might. I think that speed that he flashed and his special teams play would be the difference in him potentially getting a contract. John Mateer handles the ball on 48 of 62 offensive snaps, and there were some bad moments, but he did not turn the ball over, and he provides them a little bit of just sustainability with keeping drives alive on some of those runs. I still think that somewhere there has to be a little bit of a passing attack out there somehow.
Yeah, and he's just been very up and down. He'll have moments where you're like, man, what a great play, like the Sategna pass. Hits him in stride, very accurate. But the play before that, like you mentioned earlier, 5 yards behind Sategna. And that's just kind of been the John Mateer experience. And so what can you do as an offensive coordinator if you're Ben Arbuckle to help him out? Maybe some easier throws, simplifying some of the RPO game. It doesn't help Oklahoma that they can't run the football right now, and their running back room is just kind of decimated with injuries or guys that are sitting out to redshirt. So I think that everything's on Mateer's shoulders right now. This team eventually, I think, is going to go as far as he can take them. This defense has been great, but they're going to have to find some points offensively, and it's going to be on Mateer. I thought he had a gutsy performance in terms of running the ball. I think he ran the ball 18 times for 60 yards, which is just a lot for a quarterback, but ultimately I think he needs to play better in the passing game. They tried to push it down the field. He just was a little too inaccurate for Oklahoma on Saturday.
I don't think we talk about this as much as maybe we should, is that the offensive line was getting a lot of criticism early in the year. It stabilized to a degree, and it stabilized behind three freshmen playing out there, and so that's the type of thing that you can really build on going forward for the next couple of years with all of the depth on the defensive side of the ball. Those offensive linemen for playing in the SEC as freshmen are doing a decent job.
Yeah, I'd argue right now offensively, it's maybe their best position group, which is kind of crazy to say because a year ago that was not the case. It was probably their worst position group. So those freshmen, Michael Fasusi, Ryan Foje, Eddie Pierre-Louis, who I think brings a huge spark to the offense up front and energy, that's a group you can build around. Even Jake Michael, the Stanford transfer at center, he's been really good for him. I think Fabechi Wiwu doesn't get enough credit for the job that he's done. He's been their most consistent guy the last 2 years, has played in every single game for Oklahoma. So yeah, this offensive line is that's where you get the hope of like, okay, what can it be next year? Because if you bring back Mateer, you bring back all these offensive linemen, maybe you can go get some big receivers in the portal or a couple tight ends. I think that's one position that's not been very good at all this year. If you can build around some of that, then maybe you have something in 2026.
Yeah, I think so. And the scheme that they have does not lend to a lot of straight ahead blocking where you're going to try to create some space for a running back like X. I also think that he's been really good. I've been a big fan of his since he played last year, and it seems like that they've had a lot of, to try to sort out who's going to play at the running back position, that they finally, whether it be from injury or production, finally settled on X and given him a chance to play back there.
Look, that was a gutsy performance. The stats won't pop out on you from Saturday against Missouri, but if you watched that game, Xavier Robinson was a big difference maker. Whether it was just falling forward and getting a few extra yards in the running game. I mean, he's been their best running back the last few games, and you felt pretty good about, after the Tennessee game, maybe you could lean on that. It's been a bit banged up, but I thought he made some big plays in the passing game, picked up some blocks for John Mateer when he was scrambling. So that was an awesome performance, and Brent Venables shouting him out after the game, and Carl Albert was pretty cool too.
That's right. Carl Albert's got a lot of recruitable players still. They've got some more players on the roster waiting for their turn at OU. T&W Tire, one of our great sponsors. We have the T&W Tire Studio. I want to say thanks to them. They've got the great location at 25 North Council Road, but locations all across the southwest portion of the United States. And whether you need tires for a fleet of vehicles or your own personal vehicle, or you need an oil change or just some car maintenance, all the T&W Tire locations will be happy to help you sponsor the T&W Tire Locks of the Week on the Sports Animal. We'll be back. We'll talk a little OU defense. We'll preview LSU coming up for the next game. Stay tuned here to the Oklahoma Sports Report.
I'm Oklahoma Sooner quarterback John Mateer. My job is to move the ball down the field and get the Sooners across the goal line. If you have been injured in an auto accident, you need a pro to be the quarterback of your medical care needs. Right here is your guy for the job.
Thanks, John. I'm Dr. Martin Lopez with the Oklahoma City Car Crash Clinic. I'm a specially trained physician with decades of training experience to help get injured Oklahomans back into the game of life.
Make your best play. Call and contact Dr. Lopez at 405-86-CRASH or visit okccrash.com.
Reveal the skin you've always wanted with Morpheus 8 at the new Laser Light. Combining the power of microneedling and radio frequency, Morpheus 8 stimulates collagen production to tighten, smooth, and contour your skin. It's a non-surgical solution for scars, wrinkles, and other blemishes, perfect for your face, neck, and body. Experience youthful, radiant skin with minimal downtime. Schedule your consultation today at the new Laser Light and discover a new you with Morpheus 8.
The garage is more than just a place to fix up the classic car. It's also a place to watch an instant classic. Or write the next great classic rock song. The garage, the place to keep it classic.
Charles, I do quite enjoy Oklahoma, but I do declare I miss the pub. Oh, Michael, you silly muppet. Why don't we just go to Pub W? You plonker. Pub W. It's Oklahoma's pub with all your favorites. Fish and chips, pigs in a blanket, chili lime chicken salad, and of course, whiskey. You said whiskey, my good man? Indeed I did. Pub W. Oklahoma's pub.
If you've been injured in an auto accident, you need to contact Dr. Martin Lopez at the OKC Car Crash Clinic. There you will be evaluated and treated by a board-certified and fellowship-trained specialist with 3 decades of clinical expertise. Concussions are an injury that are frequently underdiagnosed. At the Oklahoma City Car Crash Clinic, we utilize the iBox concussion assessment system to help further evaluate you. For an evaluation, please contact the Oklahoma City Car Crash Clinic at 405-86-CRASH or check us out at okccrash.com.
All right, welcome back. The Oklahoma defense, once again, elite. They gave up a couple of drives in the first half and gave up some yardage, but they still were relentless with pressure. Grayson Holton earns the SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. Taylor Wyan gets the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. And he just continues to show up all of the time with pressure on the quarterback. What a great find at that defensive end position.
It's crazy. You think back to his recruiting story, he wasn't highly recruited. And the only reason Oklahoma got him is because they missed out on someone else. And so they find Taylor Wyan, they develop him the last couple of years, really didn't play at all the last couple of years at his first 2 years at Oklahoma. And now all of a sudden he's a superstar, arguably their best defensive player this year. And with R. Mason Thomas out, he's really stepped up his game. And he's kind of the epitome of what Brent Venables wants to build in terms of development and growth and all of that. So he's been awesome. You mentioned Grayson Holton, another guy that he's been in the program now 4 years. He's just been awesome. He's working his way into being a draft pick. Taylor Wine, another guy that has another year. I think he's going to come back, but we'll see. He could be a draftable guy. So that defensive front, though, it's just they have so many guys. It's like you lose R. Mason Thomas, but Taylor Wine steps up. Jaden Jackson's been banged up, but guys like Grayson Holton, David Stone, even a Marcus Strong have stepped in. So that front seven that Oklahoma has built and the depth that they have is pretty remarkable.
I think that the question for me coming into this season, they had experience and depth at a lot of positions, but linebacker, they don't play a ton of guys inside, but Owen Heinicke, Kip Lewis also had incredible games, and Heinicke's energy seems to be contagious on the rest of the defense. He just doesn't ever quit. He's been awesome this year. What a find.
Yeah, Owen Heinicke, and I went to high school with him at Bishop Kelly. Shout out back in the 918, but he was an awesome player back at Bishop Kelly. Played running back actually for them, so he's a tremendous athlete. He's another guy that, what a great story of, he was at Ohio State, a lacrosse player, transfers to Oklahoma, walks on the football team, and earns his way into this role. You remember him on special teams the last few years. Now he's playing linebacker. I think he's tremendously smart. And then I think that he's showing his athleticism. He's not the biggest guy out there, but I think he's got tremendous speed, great physicality. He knows where he's supposed to be and just makes a lot of plays. And he's really helped. Like you said, linebacker depth was a concern, and I don't think anybody had Heinicke on their radar. He's come in and really lifted them up. They already had Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie, Samuel Masigo, but Heinicke has kind of been a big difference maker for them.
Yeah, and the ability to have all that depth has allowed guys to miss, like R. Mason Thomas, as well as Gentry Williams in the secondary. Any feel about those guys coming back?
I don't think you're going to see R. Mason until the playoff. Gentry Williams, probably the same thing. I think both those guys are battling, not season-ending injuries, but injuries that it's going to be tough to come back from. R. Mason with his quad, what's the best thing about R. Mason? His explosiveness, his ability to be physical at the point of attack. That's a really tough injury to battle with the quad. I do think, though, if they make it to the playoff, I think he could play in that game. Same with Gentry Williams. He's been dealing with that shoulder injury throughout his career, but I'm sure both those guys, being seniors, kind of seeing this thing through, they're going to want to play come December 20th if they do make the playoff.
Another thing, I think Brent Venables has done a really, really good job of calling the defense, right? I mean, he's dialed up a lot of blitzes, and he said, hey, I'm the guy for the job to do this, and he has done a phenomenal job. There hasn't really been much, clock issues, but he's certainly calling some of the right plays, especially here now that they're forcing turnovers.
It's funny, 10 months ago we were talking about OU trying to hire Jim Knowles and how big of a difference that would have been for Oklahoma if they could get the former Ohio State defensive coordinator. I think the best thing that happened to Oklahoma is Brent Venables calling the defense. You see what a mastermind he is, and we knew he was one of the best, if not the best, defensive play callers in the country, but he's proving it this year. I think he knows his players well. And they've really, as a team, leaned into what they're doing defensively, getting takeaways, playing field position, like you said earlier. And I think Brent has done a really good job of managing that.
Yeah, Ahmad Hardy came in as the top rusher in the country, and he had 300 yards against Mississippi State the game before. I believe he had no yards in the second half on 9 carries. So this rush defense, I mean, we thought it's the strength of the defense, but it really stepped up.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, you're seeing guys up front just win their battles all the time, and that's making life easy on the Owen Heineckes of the world and Kip Lewis going up and making a tackle, but also just rallying to the football. I think that was the biggest difference, later in the game is there were several guys tackling Ahmad Hardy, and you've seen that now in a few games with Oklahoma defensively where maybe a team has a good early drive and then this OU defense settles in. And I thought that's what you saw because Hardy, I think, had 21 yards on the opening drive, and then I think it was only 40 the rest of the game. So just a tremendous job of rallying to the football, being physical at the point of attack. And again, it all starts for me for this defense up front, and they continue to win battles, whether it's on the interior or on the edges.
All right, it's time for our defensive play of the game. I'm going to go with Jacoby Johnson, interception that thwarted a late drive by Missouri. The Tigers were trying to get back into the game. Thanks to Dr. Martin Lopez, OKC crash. You've been injured in an automobile accident. Call Dr. Lopez, make sure that he gets you checked out. There are no underlying injuries there, and that you get the money that you deserve. We will preview the Sooners and LSU when we come back here to the Garage in Norman. Stay tuned. Welcome back here to the Garage in Norman, one of the many garages located across the Oklahoma City metro area. Great burgers, great beer. Love the fries here. They're outstanding, and all kinds of choices on the menu that are excellent. Don't forget Rad Hour with great discounts here in the middle of the day. And also want to say thank you to surfandturfgolf.com. Go there, check it out if you want custom-made OU items, OU hats and shirts. It's a great place to do it. Brand new company that's growing and growing at a rapid rate at surfandturfgolf.com. All right, the nemesis for OU has been LSU so far in the SEC. They came in here and swept OU in baseball last year, got OU in football a year ago, so it seems like maybe this is just time to get some redemption against LSU.
Yeah, and talk about perfect timing. This is an LSU team that obviously has struggled this year, just fired their head coach a few weeks ago. They're in the middle of a coaching search, so there's a lot of distractions. Garrett Nussmeier, who many thought was a Heisman favorite to start the year, no longer the starting quarterback. I think he's had some injury stuff. I think he's also like, hey, I'm going to go to the NFL. So it's going to be Michael Van Buren against Oklahoma. So very interesting team coming to OU. I'm sure they're looking to spoil OU's season. At the same time, this is a Tiger team that is not as good as people thought. And I think this is a game that Oklahoma should win. Now, I think that they're very good defensively, LSU is. I think that they could cause some problems for Oklahoma that has obviously struggled to move the ball offensively. But on offense for LSU, it's just not been the unit that I think a lot of people thought.
Yeah, they've had injuries in the offensive line.
Yep.
They've not been able to run the football, which is something that they've got. Caden Durham, who's from Oklahoma City, and spent a year at Duncanville, and they've got a really, really good freshman running back that was one of the top recruits in the country from Louisiana, but they just haven't had success there. So Harold Perkins on defense is a guy that can force turnovers and make big plays with his ability to rush the passer. So you feel pretty good about this. Is another one of those games where I think we're going to have a really low scoring total, and ball security will be important. And if Oklahoma can do that, and I think they're going to be in pretty good shape in this game.
Yeah, look, if they don't turn the ball over and they force a couple turnovers, they're going to win. I mean, we've seen that throughout the Brent Venables era, but especially these last few weeks. But you mentioned it, Perkins, he's a game wrecker, and all of a sudden he gets loose, he sacks Mateer, and there's a strip sack and a fumble, whatever, the game can turn. So I think that for Oklahoma on offense, it's just, hey, don't turn the ball over. Obviously, you want to go score, be aggressive in certain spots, but make sure you're holding on to that football. Maybe they can find some success in the running game if Xavier Robinson continues to stay healthy. And then on the flip side, for Oklahoma defensively, I think it's about getting after Michael Van Buren, a young quarterback. He's prone to making some mistakes. They've got some good playmakers at wide receiver. They've been a little bit banged up there as well. Nick Anderson, obviously the former Sooner. I don't think he's going to play in this game. You are going to see Bauer Sharp, though, the former Oklahoma tight end. But I like this matchup for Oklahoma. I do think, though, it could be a close one-score game in the fourth quarter, and it's just going to come down to, can you avoid the big mistake, and can you force LSU into the big mistake?
Yeah, Michael Van Buren was at Mississippi State last year. He had a couple of good games playing in reserve of Blake Shapen there, then went to LSU last year in the portal. So LSU does have talent. I mean, that is something that you can say. And so how will they show up after playing a very lackluster game on senior night at home against Western Kentucky? Will they have enthusiasm to come try to really put a damper on OU season and potentially keep them out of the playoff? But this last week of the SEC, we got some really, really good games.
Yeah, really good games. I mean, obviously Texas A&M is going to be one to tune into. Ole Miss and Mississippi State and the Lane Kiffin, circus is going to be fun to see what happens there. Georgia plays Georgia Tech, I believe. But yeah, there's some really good games that mean a lot. Alabama, Auburn, the Iron Bowl. I know Alabama is, I think, a heavy favorite in that game, but you never know at Jordan-Hare, right? So, and that game's at night. So there's a lot of playoff implications. Obviously, Oklahoma can punch their ticket to the playoff with a win over LSU. So it kind of lined up perfectly across the league for all these big games.
You talk to a lot of your colleagues with Sooner Scoop around the country that cover different schools. What's your gut on Lane Kiffin?
I think he's going to go to LSU. I don't think it's good news for Ole Miss that they came out and said, hey, we'll have an announcement after the Egg Bowl. If they had gotten a contract done and Lane Kiffin said, hey, I'm not going anywhere, I think we would know by now. And maybe he could still change his mind. You never know with a guy like Lane Kiffin, but I think he's going to be heading to Baton Rouge, and I think that's one of the best jobs in America. I know they've got a lot of turmoil going on right now, but I think he could win a lot of football games there, so I don't necessarily blame him. At the same time, if you're Ole Miss, it's going to be sour grapes because you have maybe your best team in school history this year.
It's hard for me to give him any benefit of the doubt in this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough situation. Usually people are going to do what's best for themselves in these type of situations. So if he's given Ole Miss a week to try to prepare for the exit of how they're going to go forward, then I guess that gives him a small amount of pass. But I think they've got a very tough game with Mississippi State that sets up. Mississippi State has had an off week, kind of waiting there. for this game and one of the more intense rivalries in the country.
Yeah, and what does the committee think? Let's say they go and lose that game and Lane Kiffin the next day leaves. What does the committee think of that? You know, would they dare drop them out of the top 12 despite the good season that they've had, but they have no head coach anymore? I don't know. It's a fascinating storyline. And obviously, if Florida misses out, where does Florida go? Who does Ole Miss hire? Like, it's the domino effect is also massive.
It'll be the most interesting coaching search, I think, in the history of the sport. George, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. For all your burgers and beer, get to the garage in Oklahoma City. We'll see you next week here on the Oklahoma Sports Report.